Hi, Lubna.
Hi, Hawa.
We are reunited, everyone, again. Woo!
I love when we do this in person, and I think we should definitely do that more.
Yes.
I love the energy and the vibe. It's totally different.
Yes, totally agree.
So today is a very meaningful conversation, I would hope.
Yes.
As always, we tend to dive deep into topics, and I think this one really reflects a lot of the things we've discussed in the past. We're talking about beauty. And we thought about this topic because obviously there's so much written about it, there's so much said about it. There are a lot of dominant kind of discourses out there about, a dominant version of beauty currently that follows cultural norms of dominant groups, the skin color, the hair type, the body type. So we know these things. Honestly, this is mainstream now. There's nothing really challenging about that. And we see attempts to diversify the visuals and the optics of beauty in different products and different industries, specifically in cosmetics, beauty products that targeting women. I think that's also where there's a gender disproportion when it comes to how this problem is affecting women versus men. I think an interesting dimension is early childhood and teenhood, and how beauty and concepts of beauty affect the perception of the self as they walk into society with these dominant visuals and optics of what beauty looks like. And also from my end, as I was thinking about the topic, I think we forget a lot how affected by the environment is the concept of beauty. And when I say environment, I'm not thinking cultural or social. I'm thinking purely physical, tangible environment. So for example, we know for a fact through anthropological studies, sociological studies, and historical archives that nations that lived, for example, in scarcity, in food scarcity, they valued more voluptuous, fuller bodies because they signaled something about safety, about fertility, aside from the physiological evolutionary thing, I'm saying even culturally and socially, it's signaled that. But today, in an age and time of abundance, in most cultures, it's actually the opposite. The thinner, the slimmer, the more athletic and toned, less fat is a signal of status and comfort, because it's almost you're resisting this overconsumption culture that we are inundated with. Yeah. So I think we always talk about the relativity of beauty and how it's culturally constructed, socially constructed, but also I think the physical, environmental aspect of it and how it affects us as a species, what we look in partners specifically, and how we understand beauty in relation to fertility is an important concept. And that's the starting point for me when I started thinking about that topic. Yeah. I wonder from your end, when we said, let's talk about beauty, what came to your mind?
Definitely that.
Really?
100%, yeah. Just in terms of sort of the social benefits or disadvantages of one individual, particularly women, and their beauty, right? And how that leads to certain social status, opportunities, and how those standards of beauties fluctuate constantly, depending. And it's, again, in the US, it's always fluctuating, right? Like at one point it was all the BBLs, as they say, and now apparently, I don't know, there's a sort of pushing away from that, right?
Just to explain to the listeners, what is BBL?
A Brazilian butt lift. A Brazilian butt lift. So I was definitely thinking about that, and then just again how like on a historical level it just keeps evolving and has been. And then I also was thinking of beauty in terms of nature, you know, like expanding beyond us and what we define as beauty, right? And the beauty of humans, but the beauty in terms of nature, right? Okay. And how we even sort of kind of decide what's beautiful and what's not beautiful, even in inanimate objects, is what I'm saying. Like, I was thinking about how certain plants, right, like are considered more beautiful than others. Like I love orchids. Some people think that's the most beautiful flower that exists. That's one of my favorite, and it is really beautiful. But some people would say, no, I'm not a big fan of orchids. I might be a fan of this, right? And I think there is a hierarchy, even the way that humans, I'm saying that we've extended sort of these standards that we have towards ourselves, towards nature, which I think is so interesting, right?
That's a very
so
good
beauty
point.
To me is beyond, our physical bodies, or our art, right? Or, and also thinking about it from an immaterial perspective, like a beautiful soul, some people say. Well, what does that mean? Like there's just, I don't think I limited in my head to just wanting to talk, not to you, but I didn't think of it limited to just
Humans.
beauty standards per se.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I was really just thinking about how beauty standards towards humans, towards inanimate objects, towards the immaterial, like all these different things. So I guess we can start though with the human element of it.
No,
and,
but
you
I
know,
love, just on that note, it reminds me actually, that's a very good point about how we perceive inanimate or even nature,
right.
and how there's a hierarchy even in that
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
Because I remember, so I grew up in Qatar, you know that it's a desert pretty much. Of course, it's been modernized, all of that, but by nature, like the environmental ecosystem is desert. So I just remember a lot of expats that are not familiar with that came maybe from environments that are more green or forest oriented or mountainous. A lot of maybe Americans, Europeans, now I'm thinking about it, where the comments are almost dismissive of the desert, as if it doesn't hold beauty.
Yes.
And I remember we didn't go so often, but like every while and then with friends we would go, especially in winter. It's really beautiful to like have bonfire, you spend the night there. And I've always thought the desert is gorgeous.
I completely,
and I it was weird to me that it was, even when some articles that are critical of the region in general, like they use desert like in such a dismissive way, as if it's not part of nature and there's no beauty in it,
right.
as if beauty is limited to the green, the water, like specific, there's a hierarchy, as you said. But yeah, it's fascinating you brought this up, because immediately I remembered these comments and I was just taken back, because I didn't understand how they cannot see it, what they're talking about really. Because I didn't have a contrast. I used to visit Syria, but Syria is, like, especially Aleppo is a city. It's not particularly, you know, there's not abundance of nature per se there. So I couldn't like contrast it to anything else. But yeah, so
I also wonder if it's because I'm sure those people, I don't believe I am obviously making a lot of assumptions, but I'm sure those same people are completely disconnected from the nature of the country they live in as well. And I think that's a problem, right? Like, I think my expansion and my ideas of beauty have expanded because I've been more into hiking. I'm more into nature the last 10 years. I didn't grow up with that. And in America, people are very disconnected for the most part. Unless you live in, I guess I'm speaking from like the Northeast. I'm not from California or Colorado or anything like that. And when I say the Northeast, I'm really talking about the tri-state area, which really doesn't have much nature. I mean, it does, right? The Catskills, upstate, parts of New Jersey. I'm not denying the beauty of it. But I would say it's just like an interest in hiking in nature. I feel it, particularly with millennials, has happened a lot more in the last 10 years, especially post-COVID.
Right.
So I always wonder if people have these critiques of nature and stuff like that just because they're so disconnected it from home. Because how could you say that? They're in the cities, they're never going out or anything like that. But from a spiritual perspective, and why I say immaterial is that, like there's that whole sort of universal law of as above, so below, as within, so without, which basically says that, you know, we are... we are, nature is us and we're nature, for example, right? Like if you look at some certain trees, they look like the lungs of our, like we are nature, nature is us. It's a mirror kind of thing, right? We're not separate from those things. We're not separate from the spiritual world, and we're not separate from the material world. They're very intertwined, right? And so I guess it's just, that's why, to answer your question earlier, that's why I was just sort of thinking about it in that way. And as I sort of developed that spiritual awareness, I felt like my views of beauty with humans expanded, right?
So tell me more about that. How?
So I think, you know, for me, and the case for many women in the world, there are these sort of external forces, right? And there's all this messaging and propaganda. And I grew up in I'm an 87 baby. I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, which was all about super skinny, super skinny, white, you know, and I didn't grow up around Somalis or black people or anything like that. So I was always just viewing all the media that I consumed was people that didn't look like me. I will say for me, what I think kind of saved me, and I didn't have any sort of hang-ups about this, is the fact that in the early 90s, it was like the supermodel era, which I love. Like, I loved that era. Like, I'm all about
Naomi Campbell.
Yeah, Naomi Campbell.
Cindy Crawford.
Yasmin Gurry, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, who's like the best. And then I had Iman, which was like a great sort of, for me, growing up around non-Somali, seeing someone like Iman in these fashion covers was really important. And I stand by the fact that I think representation is absolutely important.
Right.
But I just thought that they were these like Amazonian beautiful women, and they were all from so many different backgrounds. That was what was really special about it. And then like sort of the heroin chic era came, and that all kind of went out the window. But it was like 80s and 90s, like supermodel and modeling. It wasn't easy for them, but it felt for me that there was so much more diversity and representation. And also as a 90s kids, there were so many great sitcoms and TV shows that had a lot of African Americans. So I didn't feel, it was never really like a racial motivation for me. It was probably just like, oh, I'm not skinny or I'm curvy. Like I don't have this skinny body that my peers have. But I think I also just felt that the town that I grew up in was so limiting to me. Like I knew that this was not it. For whatever reason, and I think at the proximity to living near New York City, I was like, okay, I get that I'm not the look for this community or this world or this country, but like, I just had this inner knowing, like, this is not for me. And it's so, but.
Did you guys hang out a lot in New York?
I go occasionally, yeah. You'd always go. It was easy. I'm from the suburbs, so it was fine. But I guess for me, I never felt, I felt that there were so much different types of beauty. I had like, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I had like a very sophisticated understanding of beauty. Like, I was jokingly tell people that I would have been like an amazing casting agent for models. Like I would have just like, because I just knew that beauty was not limited to like whatever the hell America was telling it for me to be. Like I just was like, there's a world, and I've always been curious about the world. And I think I had the benefit of being the daughter of immigrants and being around Somalis and seeing so many beautiful women. I just didn't have a hang up. Maybe the beauty to me definitely felt different from, like being skinnier or something. It was maybe like more weight driven in terms of what I viewed, but not really. That's not true. Like I think for me, I grew up in a super white town, but I didn't look at those girls and think they're prettier than me. Like and maybe that's the Somali attitude. I didn't think, like, I'll be honest with you, I think they were pretty. Some of them were pretty, of course. Asian women. So I just never viewed beauty from a racial lens, I should say. Yeah. And putting it in a racial hierarchy. And in the United States, it's like difficult because there is a racial hierarchy. Right. Like I'm not denying that, but in my mindset and my beliefs, I was like, sorry, like you're all provincial, as they say, and like ignorant and stupid to think that this type of girl is the most beautiful girl. Like there's all different types of beauty to me, and that is not to say my views of beauty isn't shallow. I'm not denying that. Certain features or like certain looks or certain things that I personally view as beautiful, but and it's not weight driven for me in terms of beauty. It's just, maybe it has to do, I don't know. I'm just saying like beauty is more expansive to me in general, and I think I just had the luck of being in a time period where TV was really, the representation was just better. Music was the representation of music, and I never looked at white people thinking that's how I should look. Like I did not have a hang up about that's again the Somali. I'm sorry, I didn't look at white people being like, why can't I be pretty like what? I didn't give a shit. That's like not a part of my mindset. But anyway, how was it for you?
No, I'm thinking as you're talking, like in general, even growing up, I wasn't as aware of these things at all. Like beauty, the optics of looks. I went to segregated schools, so all girls schools. So even the interaction with the, let's say, the opposite sex that sometimes signal to you what beauty could look like, aside from the media and the, that was limited. And then it's a very small town with very few interactions, I would say, on such level that you would really understand like the hierarchy of beauty. There is the dominant group, like the locals, the Arabian kind of look with like the black hair and the brown eyes and like more, olive skin complexion. That was like the more dominant look, but to me, I didn't even understand there's a hierarchy of beauty at all. I was like so detached. I was like a super nerd. Whoever knew me back in this era, they would understand. Like I was completely, in my own world. It's just as I grew older, especially after college, where it became more almost like, partner hunting, like at that phase, people are doing it, everyone is doing it. You start like, okay, what the fuck, what did I miss out on? Now what's going on? That was my moment. It was like as sort of like really as if someone just shook me at some point, like, by the way, wake up, something is happening around it. And then I was like, okay, let's see. And that's even when my sister were talking about that a few days ago. I was definitely a late bloomer, like extremely, like it was literally, I want to say last year of high school when I started undergrad that I started like dressing up, wearing maybe some makeup. Like I started getting into these things before that. And even then, I thought it was weird, out of character for me, because it felt like I have to decorate my body, because it's, for some reason, someone said this is not enough the way it is to be presented to society. So I have to wear like masks almost. Even now for this episode, when I put foundation.
Yeah.
As I was
lipstick,
every
like,
single
yeah.
time I put makeup, I'm looking at the mirror. I'm like, someone said not someone as in conspiracy theory, but for some reason our society operates in such a way that my face without layers of color is not enough. And I'm not saying there are people who choose not to wear makeup. There are, of course. But then it seems like the images that are kept on pushing down our throats are makeup, consume it, buy it, skincare, buy it, because my skin is not enough. It's enough. It can survive this. For hundreds of thousands of years, we managed. Yes, some of us died because of diseases. So it's a matter of hygiene, not a matter of adding layers of chemicals to my face or my skin to preserve it. I absolutely don't believe in that shit.
Yeah.
But I'm playing the game. Like, I have to play the game of, the rules of the game. I felt I had to. Otherwise, I was lagging behind. And I saw the difference. The moment I started wearing high heels, like tight stuff, playing the... You should see the attention. You get the attention.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of works,
It rewards you.
Yeah, it is
There
rewarded,
is a reward system. And I was like, at an age and time, sure, I want to look for a mate. I want to look for a partner. Like an animal kingdom. Which is kind of unfortunate, because a lot of species, the male does all the work, but for some reason we have to do all this.
That's a
crazy...
good point. Like the peacocks have to do, and the swans or the penguins or something.
A lot of the birds, especially in the birds sort of world, the male does the work in terms of the optics, the visuals, the dancing. But for us, for some reason, we have to do that. I mean, if they have to do like all this financial security and safety and sure, if that's how it's society operating, let it be. Like, I'm entering this stage in my life, like, let it be. Like, I give up on a lot of things. I give up, guys. But the point is, so it's literally, as an observer, I saw how it's done. What's my goal? I want to be with someone. Not necessarily to marry, but I want it to have a companion.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was immediately rewarded for getting their attention. I knew that this works.
Yeah.
And I sound so promiscuous. I was not promiscuous, guys.
No.
I was a well-respected and respectable human being. But
good Syrian girl.
Very, poor me. But the point is, like, just the transit, it tells you something about, like, the dynamics but taking it, I guess, a step further, I think there's definitely evolutionary purpose into whole of that, like what attracts attention. And there is a lot of work and studies about that from biology, kind of anthropology, sociology, about like the ratio, for example, for women. It's the waist to hip ratio. That signals immediately for certain level of fertility. For men, it's the ratio of their shoulders to their chest.
Oh, I didn't know that for the men.
Yeah, it signals to women something about the testosterone level and also safety. So it's almost immediate, like milliseconds. You see that something registers in you. And apparently your brain also responds with dopamine rush to beauty. And beauty in that sense is, from a nature perspective, is defined as symmetry.
Because, like the golden ratio.
Yeah, the symmetry, it signals apparently genetic stability, that there isn't deformities, and lower susceptibility to diseases. There's something about that apparently. So you see that, and then dopamine is released as much as dopamine is released when you consume food, for example. So there are studies about all of that. So not all of it is in our heads. I think there's 100% there's. But that's for fertility and reproduction. Which a lot of people are not even interested. I mean, intercourse, maybe they're interested in that, but not necessarily having children. But that's at the core of it. The wiring of it is that. But what I just said, like the studies so far that they've done, I don't know all of them, but like a lot of it is very high level, like symmetry, health. If, for example, if your skin is clearer, that signals youthfulness. Youthfulness is more hormonal stability. That's equal to higher fertility.
Got it.
That's how the thinking goes, I guess, subconsciously, your wiring. But that translates into, in my opinion, like more distorted ways that you see people building layers and layers, unnecessary layers, into what beauty means and why it matters to begin with. I don't know if...
No, I agree with you, and it just makes me think of how that made sense during, like, the primitive time. I understand that from a 10,000 year perspective, right? Or even a couple hundred years. But now it's kind of manifested into these sort of shallow sort of parameters of mating, right? Like people still want these things, but it's not like connected to fertility per se. I don't think people are, looking at these elements of a person's body being like, oh, he would be good, he would protect me, or she will provide me with sons and daughters or anything like that. It's more social status oriented, I feel like, at times, or class elements of it. It's shallow, like a lot of it, because now I'm thinking of like the dark side of all of this, right? Like,
what is the dark side of that?
Well, that just you are judged by your looks, right? Like we're all judging each other. And I say we, like I'm not, this is all indoctrinated in all of us in the conditioning, unless you happen to be some sort of child who lives in the jungle and completely ignorant of all these things, which I think they're probably better off than we are. Because think about the sort of industry of beauty.
Yeah,
if we think about it. Like it's all led to this sort of, and it goes back to always my spiritual beliefs of all of this. Like we're just becoming more and more materialistic. Like we're materialists. It's like now it's just becoming more and more. To me, that argument you made again makes sense for our, ancestors from thousands of years ago, because it's rooted in protecting themselves, protecting the home. There's real reasons to me that I understand. And today, it's particularly in the West, the motivation is definitely different. But
what do you think is to make profits by creating more products?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's more, it's just all about, you'll get jobs if you're prettier. There are all these studies that show, like, oh, if you look this way.
True.
And it's true.
Right, it's true.
Yeah, 100%.
More people who are perceived to be more attractive according to a particular cultural context. There are studies that verify that they receive higher income on average, lighter legal penalties for breaking the law, and they're perceived to be smarter, kinder.
That's so crazy.
Kinder.
Yeah, because people just have, and it's, so I think, and then that leads to, okay, let me get certain plastic surgery. What can I do to modify my looks to make me more susceptible to partnerships, which is real. I get it. I totally get that. If that's the world we live in, why wouldn't you do everything you can to modify the way that you look beyond losing weight? Like I'm talking plastic surgery or beyond skincare and beauty routines and hair, things that you don't have to do from a surgical perspective. But I think it just becomes so like nefarious at this point. But then again, on the flip side, I think beauty is really like, sometimes it's kind of wonderful.
Oh no, say more.
There is something not about my beauty or you beauty, like when you see a beautiful person, like sometimes it's nature or like
dopamine rush,
but sometimes they're just like, like I love fashion. I'll watch the runway shows or I'll be in a fashion magazine and I just see a beautiful woman or a beautiful man and it's like, wow, there is something it's really fun.
The halo effect.
There's a halo effect. You're just like, wow, or you see someone on the street. Like I've lived in New York, I've traveled around the world and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it is true. And it's not like I have any desire, and I guess I'm sure so for guys, men it's different. They want to like sleep with it, but I literally just objectively, with it. But like for me, it's just objective. I look at it from like almost like a piece of art. Like there is something to be said about beautiful people. Sort of, I think it's almost like a positive element of how psychotic nature is. Like to see these beautiful people, and they can be inspiring. And so many artists have used beautiful women and men as muses. Like there has been something that symmetry, that look, whatever it is, that has really inspired people. Right. That I kind of understand the importance of it from like a cultural society and cultural perspective. But then there's also like a dehumanization of these people sometimes, so it's all
of the beautiful people or not people who are not perceived to be beautiful.
Both are being dehumanized, but everyone's being dehumanized. But then also with the beautiful people, I do think they're being like, I really love the 90s models I just really looked up to them when I was like 11. I just thought they were cool and they were all diverse, and I was in like a super white town, so it was just kind of like nice to see. And I loved fashion. I still love fashion. And I remember watching one interview with a few of them. I think it was Yasmin Guri, who like went MIA. She was one of the top models. Beautiful, half Pakistani, half German, I believe, from Canada. She was always, and a lot of models are like this, they're very real about what they do, but she was just like, listen, it's because they're like, how is it like, they romanticize their jobs, like, oh my God, what it's like, and she's like, it's fine, like, you just go and do a shoot, put some clothes on, I'm not doing this forever. Like, she clearly was just like, this is the least intellectually stimulating. There's an assumption that they're like airheads, right? Like blonde women are bimbos, or beautiful people are, can't think, can't read, can't write. They're just there. So that's what I mean by dehumanization. It's just, you don't consider that they have, they don't care about their beauty as much as you perceive them, even though you think they're beautiful. It's not a priority for them, right?
Do you think that applies to men and women, that perception, or more disproportionately towards women, as in they're assumed to be not as smart if they are very beautiful? Is a very handsome man, do you think, most likely would be seen as or perceived as not very smart?
No, I don't think that at all. Unless he's like a jock, the stereotypical, like, but if it's just a generally handsome man, no, absolutely not do they question a man's, in my personal opinion, do not think they question a man's intellect to the way that they do beautiful women. No. Have you had that experience, like, where
Did you just call me beautiful?
You are
Hawa?
beautiful, Lubna. You are beautiful.
I was waiting
and I'll
for
tell
that
you why
moment.
you're beautiful in a second.
Oh, that's sweet.
But,
Did I?
Where have you had, when you, before you were married, like when you dated men, did you feel like men would, say you're beautiful and then kind of intellectually be surprised at your intellect? Because Lubna is an extremely accomplished woman, so I'm just curious, well-educated, like multilingual. So I just wonder if you've ever encountered men being, or even women who perceived you as attractive. I don't mean like queer women, but just any women who might have seen you and just assumed, like, wow.
You're very sweet. No, not really. But I'm just trying to think about the guys I dated, and it's not even, or I went out on dates with.
Yeah.
I think it was like a self-selected kind of crowd, because maybe I didn't hide myself in that way. Like, it was clear from the moment you speak to me that I'm more of a serious person. I don't know if it's like smart the way, like, it's not the intelligence, it's just I'm more serious. So that doesn't attract everyone. Like, it's a particular type who want to be with someone who is more serious, let's say.
Yeah.
So I didn't get any of these moments. But again, I feel like Doha, because most of that was in Doha. It's a very small place, Hawa.
Yeah,
extremely small in terms of the variety and diversity of.
And by the time you come to New York with Amir, so it was like,
when I came to New York, I was already with my, now husband, back then fiance.
Yeah.
So I didn't experience much of the dating there. But I had a question about you. It's kind of like taking it maybe to a hypothetical world.
Sure.
But imagine you have a daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's sit with that. You have a daughter, and she's 8-10 years old now. Aside from modeling whatever you want to model for her in terms of what a grounded, self-confident, spiritual woman is, what do you think you would tell her about beauty if she asks you what is beauty?
To me, I would always emphasize that for me there's two parts of it. I would hope, and my intention is to emphasize character and soul, like the beauty, to be a good person, to treat everyone as beautiful in their own special way. As corny as that sounds, I do firmly believe that we are all souls incarnated on this planet for a reason, and we all have our purpose and lessons and experiences that we will go through, lessons we'll learn and experiences that we'll go through. That for me, it would be very important, particularly for my daughter, to know that, and for her to love herself. I think it would be important for me I want her to have self-love and to love how she looks inside and out. It would be more of just her loving how she is, who she is, outside of anybody else, which is, I think, an attitude everyone should have for themselves, is that I love myself. I'm beautiful because I say I'm beautiful, not because my mom says I'm beautiful, not because society tells me I'm beautiful, or even society tells me I'm ugly. No, I'm not ugly. They're ugly in their souls. I'm beautiful inside and out. That would be very important to me. And on the flip side, it'd be important for me to emphasize just your body is a temple, you know what I mean? And to love it as it is and to take care of it. You're kind of a steward of your body. But I don't ever want it to be her thinking about it in comparison to someone else. Yeah. That she loves that for herself.
That would be so difficult. I can't imagine for people who have children now, and I'm asking specifically the daughter, because I do think women get more of that pressure and more of that messaging relative to men. That men and boys get different type of messaging and pressure, obviously. But I think with girls specifically, because I've seen some relatives entering that age group, and it worries me a little bit how absorbed they are into that world of beauty and beauty consumption and products that young. So
it's crazy. Like, I was seeing on TikTok, and this was a trend that I noticed, where one woman, I forget her name, Shay Mitchell, I guess, a friend of mine who has a daughter as well, young daughter, she was telling me about how Shay Mitchell, I believe, allegedly, I don't know, but she started a new skincare line for little girls, like 5-year-old girls, like wearing face masks. Like, it is getting darker.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, because when I was younger,
and this Mitchell, whatever her
Shay
name.
Mitchell, she owns a suit. She used to be an actress.
She's an adult.
She's an adult, and she started a suitcase brand that is quite popular. And then she's decided to do another business venture in which it's like, and there was a ad for it. I don't know if it continued because there was a bit of a backlash, as there should be. But I have seen, like, when I'm on TikTok or Instagram, young girls being like, look at my skincare routine, like, check out my new skincare routine. And I'm like, what skincare routine? You don't have any issues at 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. You know, like, you don't have any issues.
Sad.
And I think you're right. I don't deny the influence of media, right? It's always been there, and it's incredibly more insidious because it's on mobile. It's everywhere. You know, you can't just, like, watch TV and go home, or, like, it is more in your face. But, and I do think, and this is going to be the case for me, like, if my kid said to me, Mommy, I want a 6 kid, and it isn't easy. I think it's hard when kids are being influenced by their peers. I know there's pressure. I pressured my parents when I wanted certain things. Like, you remember did you guys have Beanie Babies?
What's that?
Oh my God. There were these, like, stupid little, like toys.
No.
And there was a huge collection of them, and there were all these different, and it was like a craze as a kid, like Cabbage Patch Kids, but it was smaller, and they were bears, but they were different colors.
Oh, is that like what they have now? They have like a thing like
the Labubu. It's like it was my Labubu. It was my generation's Labubu.
Okay.
And the shit that I put my mother through to get that. And I apologized to her like a year ago. I was like, Mommy, do you remember when I like made you get like, I did everything.
Trauma for your mother.
The Princess Diana Beanie Baby. Like, it was huge. These things were like collectible, and people bought them kind of like Stanley Cups or whatever.
Yeah,
like they thought that this would be worth something. It wasn't that for me. Obviously, I was a kid. It was just like, I wanted to be like everyone else who had a Beanie Baby, right? So I recognize there's always going to be pressure. And I think there's a balance with it, right? You don't want to just say no completely, and you don't want to just say yes to everything. But I'm telling you right now, if my future daughter says, Mommy, I need to buy makeup, and she's 5, I'd be like, we're going to have a sit down, and I'm going to need to know who you're hanging out with, because you do not need to be worried about this right now.
Right.
And even when I was growing up, like, I didn't wear makeup until I was much older. You know, my mom was like, you're not wearing, like, I do think the onus on some level, in addition to, like, recognizing the environment that these children are in, and it's only going to get worse as we get older, is parent guidance, you know, and what peers are your children being surrounded by? Because as much as we say that about ourselves, there were plenty of kids who didn't. I have friends who never wore makeup, still don't wear makeup. They had hippie parents, and it worked out, you know.
Sure, there's always
always an anomaly, and there's everything. So for me, that's kind of how I think.
Right. The way I think about it, also, like talking about, there's always everything, right? And anomalies or people on the extremes of things. Or my worry also about that, like, I don't want my kids, hopefully, ideally, to grow up to be an anomaly, really. Because always thinking of yourself as, I am different for X and Y reason, even if they're the good reasons, and I explain them well. And there is this differentiation that I'm kind of instilling in them, that you are different.
Yeah, like, you're special. You don't want it to border on, like, you're special and better than others, you mean?
No, even the other way around. Like, the others are buying all these fun, cool things. They're going to school and they're doing all these cool things. And here I am at home telling them, no, this is not the right thing. And it's just like my voice versus so many voices out there in society, from media, from, you know, these big companies, from their friends. And then for some reason, they have to trust mommy's voice and not all these other voices. Yeah. It's just like, it's a weird place to put the kid in. And I know it's our jobs as parents, because we can't control the external environment all the time. There will be these forces out there, the powers that be, that shape our consumption in some ways and try to push things down our throats. But that's why I'm kind of also trying to be selective about the environments I put the kid in. And where
exactly. I think it's like, you are the company you keep, as we always say, and that's exactly it. It's important if you can.
That's a lizard.
That's how you know we are in Puerto Rico.
Oh my God, we're keeping this. We're not cutting this.
Oh my God. Our little friend. We have a third host now. Everybody, actually. I think it goes back to essentially, how do you ensure that your children are surrounded by people that share the same values? And also, like, for me, even when I say all these things to my future non-existent, she's non-existent right now. She exists in the ether, but she will come. I hope healthy, whatever, boy or girl, but a girl would be, you know, I think I'd be.
She would be so cute.
But happy with either, because who knows, you know. But yeah, like, I just think to me, it's important, because I think back about my own experiences as a kid, and given what I said earlier about Like I didn't really think a white girl was prettier. I never thought a white girl was prettier than me. Like I never thought, because she was white, I guess is what I'm saying. Like I never had this, and I think that just came from that Somali, you know, attitude from my mother and my aunts. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Do you think having your aunts at the house and your mom, like there are multiple voices from your culture?
Yes.
It wasn't just mom.
Yeah.
Because if again, like having, and the mom, there's so much pressure and burden on the mom to do and be so many things. But when the kid sees multiple adults from that home culture and they're sort of portraying or embodying a certain attitude or behavior, then that's more convincing. That's what I'm wondering, to what extent having your aunts around you, growing up around these adult women, that also helps you to understand that beauty doesn't look necessarily just that.
Yeah, I think that was it. And I grew up, to Lubna's point, I grew up in like a multi-generational home. My aunts, after the war, lived with me, and, you know, I always see them as almost like surrogate mothers in some way, in addition to my own mother. We would go to Somali events. So I was always in these two worlds, you know, weddings and stuff like that. So I think, and I think that makes my experience more unique, because it wasn't like I was, like, you can hear stories of girls who were adopted, like minority children who were adopted into white families in the middle of nowhere, who have a completely different relationship to beauty than I do, because I think for me it was so normalized, because to your point, I had my mom, my aunts, Somali women were in the house, my grandmother lived, so I just was always around other women, and I never saw them talk about the thing that I think really benefited me and my sister. I mean, I can't speak for her, but for me is that they never talked about someone's looks.
Yeah.
You know, they never talked about, they emphasized, it's just, I didn't grow up in a home, because I think there are people who struggle, like, even though I talked about that one model who says she doesn't care, I'm assuming it's because her parents didn't emphasize it.
Yeah.
But then there are parents who emphasize. Yeah. They see they see that their daughter's going to be beautiful, and then they tell them, that's your asset. That's who you are. You are beautiful. And I think that's fucked up. Like, I don't think you should be, you know, even if they are the most beautiful, like, don't put that in their head, you know, because this shit doesn't last. I mean, like, it just isn't something that you can ever base your identity around, because it is shallow. Do we both acknowledge that there are benefits that you get from it? Absolutely. But for the most part, you know, like, it's not gonna, I don't subscribe to the belief that it's something that will, you know, benefits you on a spiritual level. But it doesn't benefit you in every element of your life. It depends on what you're seeking, and it's shallow, and I don't know. It's there, it's important, but it's not important. I don't know how to explain it. Like, again, and I think
you work with it.
You work with whatever you have. Just like if you're a genius, you work with it. Like you're a savant, you work with it, but it is not who you are. Yeah. Only. It is just something that you were born with. You're very lucky. But, you know, and I've met people who are beautiful or highly attractive physically, and then there's like nothing there. Yeah. Not to be disrespectful.
On that note about the parents and how they talk to the child, and what inner voice they're helping to cultivate in the child, because their voice becomes the child's inner voice to a large extent. On that note, I also want to add that it's very important that the parents be careful about how they talk about other people.
Absolutely, right? I agree. Yeah,
and about themselves, because I've been in social circles, majority women or all women, and they're talking about like their struggles with diet or working out. Yeah. And you have, you know, younger girls or teens sitting around, and I see their faces, like I've observed, they're listening, they're absorbing, and I think this is very problematic. I mean, why around 40-year-old, 35 to 40-year-old adult women sitting around, and most of our time is spent talking about food and, you know, gyms and Pilates. I don't know, maybe it's a cultural preference, and I'm sure people, not cultural, but like personal preferences. I'm sure not everyone wants to talk about philosophy or spirituality, or, you know, I like perfume making, about that. I understand that. But to be so consumed by just a one dimension of your existence, which is your body, and spending so much time and energy doing it, fixing it, or talking about it, I find it problematic. And it tells me, it's even sad, because it tells me it's one manifestation of the inner dialogue they're having with themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. I was going to say, yeah.
And then even if all of that doesn't matter, and you're really struggling, and that's a priority in your life, and you have a history with it, sure, every person has their own journeys and their own struggles, I understand. just be careful how you talk about it in front of younger girls, because they're listening. It becomes normalized that, and if anything, they aspire to become that. They want to mimic. They're gonna look up to you.
Yeah.
As this adult woman in the house, they are looking up to you. So they're gonna try to mimic a lot of these things. They think struggling with food and what you put your body or not is the norm.
Yeah.
So they start adopting habits to reflect that. So, and all I'm saying is they're very observant. That generation, that particular age group, they're looking for ways to inspire them and to guide them. And our words matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if we're not addressing them. So this is very important based on recent experiences that I had. And of course I stayed silent because I'm not the mother, I'm not even a relative, and I can't really, it's not my place. But it was almost systemic on that level, like multiple, circles, multiple social events in different countries. I was in Dubai, once here, Puerto Rico, also once in Paris. So I don't think it's particular to culture or, and I don't know how men deal with I'm talking specifically again about women and girls. So I think that's also another protection layer.
Yeah.
How we speak about ourselves, how we speak about other people's, how we judge ourselves in words, and how we judge others in the presence of children and teens.
Yeah.
Because they will repeat that or internalize it or normalize it. And it's all, they're gonna have to work with that for the rest of their lives. If it becomes the norm.
Yeah. I have no patience for that kind of rhetoric or conversations of like, oh, I ate too much, shut up. Like, in terms of just, even amongst women, adults, you know what I mean? Just emphasizing, I need to lose weight, I need to do this, I need to do that. I hate how it just don't talk about that shit near me. It's my whole attitude. Like, you're a grown-ass woman, and definitely, exactly like you said, Lubna, do not do that in front of your daughter. Like, be conscious of the words that you say, and you see it on the internet, too, like, it playing out. It just feels like everything's getting, as the saying, progressively worse in terms of this. Like, and it's also
I love the oxymoron there.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think this obsession with looks has always been surrounded around women, but I think it's creeping into men now. I think it's because there's a new market, right?
Right.
Like all these things have tapped into, they've gotten us as women, right? Because women throughout history have been seen as the most beautiful thing compared to men, quote unquote.
Well, except in Greece.
What's
happening in Greece, guys? Tell us,
the boys
please.
are beautiful, oh my God. But
Greek gods.
But even there, I think it's women are pressured to look, women everywhere, there's an expectation of take care of your looks, lose weight. Here's, all these GLPs, here's everything constantly. But there's this huge other market given how much of a capitalist system we live in. There's this whole neglected marketplace, and there's this young guy I saw on Twitter, I forget his name, and there are all these new terms that Gen Z, I think, poor you guys, I think a lot of you are becoming increasingly illiterate because some of the lingo you use is just completely unacceptable to me. I don't understand. I thought millennials, we did dumb stuff, but I think even the dumb words we said were actually real words, even if they meant something else.
Okay.
With the Gen Z.
Yeah.
They say mogged, you're I think mogged means you're ugly.
What?
You're mogging, or maybe it means you're good looking. And then, so there's this young guy, I really forget his name, but his whole thing, he's a streamer. I saw this on Twitter, on X. And his whole thing is he's just obsessed with looking perfect as a man. He just wants to, and he's 19.
He's straight.
He's straight. He's super young. Yeah,
okay.
Right?
I'm sorry, I had to ask.
No, it's good, because I think gay men understand beauty too. I think gay
Right.
men are very great, but the capitalists they know they have the women and the gay men by their throat. We are together. 100%. The two of us are absolutely beauty, physical. We're all about that. The straight men is the group that I think
they're going
they can
after?
tap to. Yeah, that they're trying to tap into. And so this guy's straight and he's young. He's 18. He does is stream all day and talks about all the different things he does. He apparently took a hammer. I think there's a New York Times or something article. I saw him on Twitter, but he did something to fix his jaw to make it more which I'm you should have just saved money to get plastic. I don't know what you're doing. He takes the meth. He has his own biohacking protocol that he does.
1 minute, meth, the drug.
Meth, crystal meth.
And he's online?
Yeah, I'm in the Gen Z business because Twitter's
how is that legal? I thought meth.
No, it's illegal. No, it's absolutely.
And no one is after?
No, he talks about it a lot because he's he uses the argument because I think in some states you can use drugs, but you can't, if you're a user, it's different than when you're a seller, I'm sorry. So he says he uses meth to help him with his working out. Then he uses peptides.
I can't.
He does all this stuff, and all these terms. He's looks maxing. Looks maxing is the term that they use now.
Does he have followers?
Yeah, he's very popular. But I'm just saying it's been interesting from a beauty perspective to see how straight men are going to be. I think that's an interesting marketplace and see what's going to happen with them because he's all like, he uses steroids as well and peptides. I don't know what peptides are. People keep talking about that. He uses meth to give him energy to like lift bigger weights. I guess I don't know.
They are creating new markets.
Yeah.
There are markets that
beauty,
exist and creating new markets for categories that are existing and enlarging. And like, I'm thinking of all possibilities, but definitely, the move to like encourage children who are struggling with their identity to,
like transgender?
Transgender.
Oh, yeah, like younger.
The words. But like, boys becoming girls or men becoming women. That's another also market.
Yeah.
That's a market.
Yeah.
That's a market.
But I don't know if that's related to beauty as so much of it is being about...
I mean, they want to be integrated to the beauty standards. I would assume. I don't know. Maybe not. But but that's because there is a hormonal treatment into it. So there's more like the medicinal part of it. But what I'm saying is that, to your point, like the corporations are looking for new markets. They're looking for new products to sell to new segments of or new customers.
Yeah, of course, always.
And they'll figure out a way.
Beauty is expanding right now. I think that's how it's evolving to me. Is like, how do we tap into straight men? But then on the flip side, I think you are seeing people who want to enhance their beauty in sort of natural ways, like the holistic beauty. Like there's all these ways of like, how do I work with what I have to improve my looks? But like, there's still two sides of the same coin, which is that
the
obsession of the body, of the material, of the way that we look. And that to me is like, okay, I get all of this, but and all of that, where is the... And like plastic surgeons and all these, they're not going to stop you. They're not going to like maybe a few, but for the most part, if you keep coming back, they're going to like entertain you. But for me, that, like I had said earlier, in terms of just expanding beauty beyond the body and this us, but yeah, like what about the beauty of a soul, or what about the beauty? How do you define? Because I have met people. I'm like, you're just a wonderful beauty. I have felt that this person is so beautiful to me, but not because of the looks.
Yeah.
Because of their character, the light, that the eminence, their soul, maybe their voice. What about the beauty of a voice? Like we're all caught up in like symmetry of the body and the optics, but sometimes to me, or like I'm in Puerto Rico right now, and I used to live here for 8 months. Lubna lives here. And like I'm just like, oh, this place is so beautiful. Like that's the only term I can use when I'm just driving with you or walking around in the beach. I'm just sitting we went to the beach yesterday. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is heaven on earth, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it feels to me that and I think a lot of people would feel that too. I don't think it's a particularly like, but I guess why don't we emphasize the beauty of someone's character or soul versus the way that we look? Like at what point it feels like the sort of beauty industry is expanding, evolving, but we still haven't really done anything to make ourselves beautiful internally.
Yeah. And I think again, I always sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think it's intentional.
Yeah, no, I think
in
you're
a sense,
right,
because if you're focused on this is limited. The body is limited. There's so much you can do with it. And that forces your attention to be focused on this. Attention is currency. Attention is power. Attention is energy. So if this is where everything goes, and then I work on this, and you see this, so we're speaking on a very shallow level when you see me and when I present myself to you. So it's obstructive to deep connections. It's obstructive to actually see people for who they are, which is the soul. The deeper. So it is a distortion. I think it's by design in so many ways, because it makes you a lesser being.
Yeah.
It makes you a lesser being. And again, that's how I feel how I felt when I walked away from these social circles where I sat and the woman mostly spoke about these things. I felt very odd. I felt like we're like cats, how they scratch just the surface?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? There is all of this. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're in the presence of each other. There's so much I can learn from you. You learn from me. I'm even not by talking. Like, we are souls that are all part of the divine. We're a family. We're sitting together, and you're telling me about the cookie you ate. Like, what the fuck? With all due respect.
And we are closer to 40, everyone. We are very close to 40. I don't have time for this shit.
Yeah, like
I didn't have time for it years ago, and I don't have time.
I just worried for them. I worried for them. Like that. This is the conversation that they think it's worthy of their time, worthy of bonding with others over. This is the worry that they have in their mind. Why is your attention so warped?
Yeah.
I mean, I sound judgy. Maybe I am judgy. I
It's
am.
fine.
But
I'm like, it's just like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience for that disordered eating rhetoric that, you know, to me also, I don't want to validate that rhetoric by indulging in it too, because when you indulge it in some of
You
these
feed it.
you feed it and you justify it, whereas like they just kind of maybe need to see a therapist or a doctor and like find their purpose. But you're totally right. It's a distraction. It's this whole system is set up so you don't, as we always say, do the inner work. Follow what do you want? Look inside yourself, right? To not value that in others. And also with beauty, the problem is like what I was saying about it being social status oriented is there's so many people, like, let's talk about dating or relationships for a second. There are plenty of men or women who are attracted to certain people physically, intellectually, but would not be with those people for marriage because
Right.
they're concerned about how their peers or their families might.
really?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, in a...
Like, I don't want to, you know, some guys love maybe like bigger women, right?
Oh, I see what you're
But
saying. Okay.
they would never marry a bigger one, or they might want to be with a black woman, but they come from a racist family or a minority woman.
I see.
So it's just whatever, you know, they do what's society tells them to do based on those beauty standards. And yet they suffer emotionally, like what could make them happy and joyful is whatever they like. Or think about gay men who are in the closet or
Right,
marry women.
right.
It's all over, it's everything. And then they fucking like go marry a wife and kids while they're, you know, and it's like, dude, be true to who you are and what you desire and what you love. Because there's no growth in that. You're just stagnant internally, you know? So it's just, that's how I feel like this obsession with beauty and whatever just also hurts us all in many
Yeah.
ways in terms of our personal desires, our spiritual work that we should all be doing. I would hope, like, you're just stuck in it. And I always say it's temporary. Like, you're not going to be I remember reading
Yeah.
this Reddit story of this girl who was like, I was told and am beautiful all my life, and now I'm getting older and I don't get the same amount of attention that I used to, and I don't know what to do with it because her whole identity, because her mom fed her ego, everyone was so proud of how pretty she was. And as you said earlier, you get rewarded for that, you know, like, it's true. A lot of women get rewarded, you know, whether they're average to above. When you're a woman that a man sees as attractive or whoever, people act stupid with you, you know, you can get like, so it's just, and why would you want to let that go? Because there's a certain power in it. There's privilege in it. It's not certain. It is absolutely a power.
And in light of the fact that a lot of women struggle to gain power in other ways, then that becomes an easy path that it presents itself to you. So why not? Like, honestly, I would argue you would be stupid to not
you'd be
benefit
completely
from
dumb.
it. Like, you would want to benefit from it.
Yeah, you should. But I think the important thing, to me at least, is like, you have to remind yourself it's temporary. Have fun while you can. Don't rely on it. You know, it's not, you do not expect it, you know, but just have fun with it and go do your own thing. Like, and recognize that it's absolutely, like, you cannot live. Can you imagine, Lubna, just living your life?
I'm thinking actually of two
like,
people I know, especially one, I think she's entering her probably early 70s now. And
oh, wow.
I didn't know her when she was, you know, at her prime time, but what I heard that she was very beautiful, but she continued. What strikes me when I meet her now at her age, early 70s, it strikes me as this, like, someone who is struggling with themselves, like, and that's kind of sad. Like, at that age, sad, you would expect that you are settled with who you are and what your life path has been. And I know it seems like we're hopping in on the woman, but men have their, I think, the equivalent kind of problem in some ways. Like, maybe it's the
ego,
the ego or the money, the power, the social status that is associated with money, because that opens doors for them as much as beauty opens doors for women in many cultures. So they have their own, I guess, path in that way, if you want to genderify it in that way or have it gendered in that way. But yeah, I think it's that's why early intervention or early socialization around what beauty means, who you are, and you're not just a body. There is the mind, there is the soul, you know, cultivating those as much or even more than the body. Focusing on that despite all other attempts externally to send these messages to young girls that the body matters more than the soul and the mind. That's the message, I think, as I'm seeing younger girls in my social circles, family, all of that. I think that's what stays with me, that if I have girls in the future or I'm around girls that are under my protection somehow, think that would be the message that I would love to help them with, because the external world is sending so many forceful messages that are glittery and beautiful, and YouTube influencers who are like 10-year-olds and putting lipstick and lip gloss. How can you resist all of that? Like, even me as an adult, if I see the YouTubers, some of these like younger, I'm like, wow, this is so like cute and amazing. I mean, imagine a 10-year-old seeing all of that. She would want these products. She would want to be part of that.
Yeah.
So we're countering a lot of these things, and we're not saying that they should live as Amish people. God bless the Amish. But I'm just saying, like, we have to restore balance in their being by de-emphasizing the body somewhat. Not in a like a Puritan, insane, psychotic way. But I'm saying in a healthy way. Take care of the body in a way that emphasizes health, well-being, hygiene, natural beauty, as in, yes, it has to be maintained, groomed.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say... No, I loved what you said about just, it's like the balance of the mind, body, soul. The body, of course, Lubna and I work out 4 times. It's very important for me to be physical, but not with it necessarily being about, like, I have to lose weight so I'm skinny so I can meet it's for my own health. And I feel like that also just facilitates my soul growth and my mind. It keeps my mind relaxed. But this overemphasis on such a shallow level of the body, I just think we need to do what we can to let go of that. So
on that note, Hawa,
stay searching
and stay
unscripted. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And that's a wrap on this week's Unscripted conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to Unscripted with Lubna and Hawa wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. We'll be back with a brand new one next Wednesday. Until then, keep it unfiltered, unapologetic, and unscripted.